Hello, Nalini. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You're here as part of a series of dialogues called Tamara Perspectives, and we wanted to bring together people such as yourself, people who have a lot to contribute towards this idea of sustainability within the communities in which we live. And we wanted to be able to listen to you and hopefully understand a little bit from you, learn a little bit from you, and share that knowledge with our audience. So thank you so much for being here, and especially to commemorate the event of World Environment Day. So, Nalini, just to say a few words about yourself, you have been working with waste pickers, and you are integral to this movement of integrating waste pickers with society and the waste management systems over the last few years. And you've co-founded an organization called Hasiru Dala. If you could tell us a little bit more about your organization, as well as the work that you do and the importance of the waste pickers within our communities, I would love to hear a bit more about that.
So Hasiru Dala, in Kannada, it means green force. That's the name waste pickers gave it to our organization. So waste pickers are the people who go on the street, pick up recyclable waste, sort it, grade it, sell it, and they make their living. So, and without them, actually, you cannot have anything not going to landfill. Everything has to go to landfill. When different organizations and the government falls short of services, this is a force which has always been there for us to make sure that less things went into the landfill. And the kind of work they do is fantastic. It is they reduce pollution, obviously, and it is a mitigation strategy for climate change. And when you actually see them back at home, they're adapting to the climate change. It's sad that they work for us, but they have to adapt. So looking at their kind of work that they do and the need in the community, need in the government system, so we started organizing them. So we work with little over 20,000 waste picker families across 18 cities of Karnataka and 64 village panchayat. So now we are a strong force where we are looking at ourselves, that means waste pickers, getting into solid waste management system of the city. Today in Bangalore, all the dry waste, that is inorganic waste, is managed by waste pickers. So officially. So that's the kind of a journey we have had with Hasiru Dala.
That's a massive number. You've spoken previously about the dignity of waste pickers, and you've called them silent environmentalists. Could you tell us why you say this?
So when you really look at, when we started working in Bangalore, and we really wanted to look at how do we see waste pickers? Do you want to see them as dirty on the street, walking into dump sites and with bare hands pulling out bottles or paper or plastic? Or do you want to look at them, what is their real role? So in 2010, I started in Bangalore. I moved back from US in 2010 to Bangalore. This is my home. So at that time, when we looked at it, how do we convince people that their contribution is a lot? So we did. I just sat in the recycling market and started writing how many trucks went out for recycling, and we realized there's more than 600 tons of just plastic alone is recycled because of informal sector. So looking at them, then we really looked at what is the calculation. Actually, their carbon footprint is less than, it's -4. And because of the living is so simple of the waste pickers. And the kind of work they do, I just said, was on the mitigation, right? They may be doing it because they want to live, and it's a livelihood. It's a livelihood. Nobody taught them. They learned themselves. They invented it. So when you look at how much of methane is reduced, greenhouse gases is reduced because of their work, actually they are silent environmentalists. So we started calling them silent environmentalists, robust entrepreneur, because Bangalore is a city of entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs need not come from IT industry. Even waste pickers are nano entrepreneurs. They know today my child needs more money to give the tuition fee or pay the school, then she knows which street to go, what kind of material to pick up, where I should sell so that I can make maximum money. This is the trend or the basic traits of a entrepreneur, right? So when we really looked at it and saw how much of because of their work, how much of greenhouse gas is reduced and how much of waste is reduced going to the landfill, we really think they are silent environmentalists. Actually, we have calculated their GHG emission reduction just in this corner 5 dry waste collection center they manage, and it is almost it's reducing 360 cars on the street per year. So when you look at, we didn't know how to calculate, of course, when we started, but now we know how to calculate, and actually you can see how their work is actually environmentally helpful, and that's why we call them silent environment. The consumption is low, -4 carbon footprints, while their work actually reduces the carbon footprints. So that's why we call them silent environmentalists.
That's amazing. And have you been able to build a community around this? Do you feel like you've been able to build a sense of pride within the community and bring some dignity and also, I guess, attention to this issue, right? I mean, I think that that's also incredibly important that waste pickers are recognized for the work that they're doing.
So when we started working in 2010 and we started organizing waste pickers, their attitude about themselves, first we had to change them, right? Their thing is, we are Dalits and we go on the street and work in dirt and we are dirty. And they always would say, when you go home, children come and hug you. When we go home, children don't come to hug us because we are stinking. We have to take bath before the children come to us, Those kind of attitude really made us think, how can we change the situation? One, we had to change the situation to tell them, look, your work is a lot worth more than saying I'm working in dirt. And second is your environment of working should change. These are the two things. The kind of work that they were doing is fantastic, but the situation in which they were doing the work was not okay. So we started working with local government, Bangalore, and said you have to give them occupational ID card. In 2010, I'm talking when there was no Aadhaar card, nothing, right? So they needed a voter ID. Nobody had. Most of them were living on the pavement when we started working in 2010. It's not the situation today. But in 10 years, what we were able to do is first give them ID card, own them. There is so much of contribution. So Bangalore municipality gave them an occupational ID card. That ID card was almost identical to that of a mayor of the city to look. Then of course we said, waste pickers in Bangalore got it. What about others? So we started working with other sister organizations nationally. And 2016 there's a law which says all waste pickers should be given occupational ID card. Started from here based on this experience. It's a national law today.
That's amazing that you triggered that kind of an impact and that was possible. That's really incredible. So the work that you do is the unorganized labor sector, and it's really interesting because I think I read somewhere that 90% of the unorganized labor sector, in fact, works with organizations such as yours and is part of that economy. And funnily, we talk about this on the other side, which is in hospitality, or tourism rather, we are 10% of the organized sector, but a lot of the people who enter the organized sector within the tourism industry are originally from the informal sector. So that was an interesting comparison. What role do you believe that cities and enterprises and individuals can play in the socio-economic improvements that can be seen within this unorganized labor sector? And how do you see that these sorts of impacts how do you see that these improvements can then positively impact, hopefully, the environment as well?
So we work very closely with the government. Because finally, if the government policies doesn't change, nothing can change, whether it is for businesses or for public health, right? So it is a public health issue. And today, what 2016 law I was just talking about, the decentralization of waste management, because that is how you can actually bring in standards of services. We started working on decentralization of waste management. How do we integrate waste pickers? How do we professionalize their work? Everybody says formalize them. There's only so many jobs you cannot formalize. So how do you professionalize their work? And we started working on a PPP model with Bangalore, where this is the first time any government has signed an MOU with a waste picker. So we have a PPP model with local government here in Bangalore with waste pickers, and this is probably the first demonstration of PPP with the poor people, right? And it's a people thing. So in each of the dry waste collection center, which is in each ward, this is where the aggregation of all the inorganic waste happens in Bangalore, is managed by them. So here you are looking at leveraging their skill and knowledge and joining their hands with the local government in a very, very formal way. Similarly, in different hotels or different in Tamara, what we do in Madikeri or the core is looking at how do we integrate the informal sector into your service system. Right, so you do a lot of formal services outside, but you need contractors like us or the people like us to take away your waste and do the recycling, right? So we connect with them. So how do we help them? How do we help them set up something that can be sustainable? How do we help them set up composting? How do we help them set up biogas? How do we help them set up inorganic waste? Because everybody thinks, oh, I have all the dry waste is separate, it's gone and it's gone, and no, not my problem, and they think everything is recycled, but it is not. So we go and talk to them about what is recycling, what is non-recycling. One of the things we do is reduction first, right? So we engage waste picker, teaching citizens what is reduction. Can you imagine a poor person who is not read and educated is coming and teaching us what is reduction and what can be recycled, what cannot be recycled? So that kind of mingling has to happen with the informal sector and a citizen and a company or a government. So that is what we try to do in many ways.
That's also very cool. I think if you would talk a little bit more on this in terms of how do you see this then, like it sounds like, what it sounds like is that there is a huge economic impact, right? Because that knowledge sharing, that economic distribution of jobs has happened such that there is, so that you are sort of bringing the two sectors together in a sense, right? The formal and the informal, so that there is value for both from that collaboration and that interaction. Could we talk a little bit about the environmental impact of this? Because I think, like you said at the beginning, there's tons of kgs of waste which is not ending up in landfills, and rather they're ending up in the places that they need to end up. Could you talk a little bit about that, and maybe speak a little bit to the event waste management as well?
So when we really look at events I think India is a very special country with so much of celebration for weddings, right? So we started first with the weddings. How do you reduce the waste that you really create? So we work with the host, we work with event planners, we work with caterers, and look at how we can reduce plastic first of all, or single-use material. How do you, even the decorators, we work with the decorators. How can you do with only flowers without any adhesive with it or plastic added onto it? Then it is the commitment of the host. So we started first we work with the host, and I can tell you right now we don't have time. We get so many orders to help with the host to make it zero waste. We call it zero waste wedding because nothing goes into the landfill. That is our whole effort that is done. Right from food, when you're servicing and you're serving, they take such small plastic containers. You can't do anything with it, right? And it is also made of material, you cannot do it. And there is a gold color lining to it. you cannot do anything. So can we look at something else? Can we not have that? Can we serve directly into the leaf? Can we not serve the food that definitely requires a single use katoris or anything like that? So we start right from there, and we make sure all the even in the buffet, people just go to buffet and pile up their food, that plate, as if they're going to eat everything. 3/4 of it is a waste, right? So how do we educate them? We don't believe in doing waste management behind the screen. So like you have a buffet, we also have a station, waste management station. So there's so many people who come and ask us, who are you? What are you doing? Many times we feel that more than going to the bride and groom, they're coming and talking to us. They want to understand. We put up a lot of messages, very pretty messages, saying that don't waste, serve as much as you want. And this is what is going to happen to your waste. When there is a wet waste that comes out, it goes to biogas. So these kind of messaging also we do. So the host is also already doing a messaging kind of a thing to everybody, and then there are other people who do it. So we send nothing to landfill because of the right from planning, execution. Both we do it, so nothing goes to landfill, and it also creates a lot of jobs. I think Hasiru Dala Innovation, our sister organization, had some 4,500 man days of work just in event-based management. So it's creating better, environment, better reducing the wastage and creating jobs. And waste pickers are also come from Dalit community, and they have not necessarily have been in these kind of events, right? So there is also a kind of engaging them, talking to them, and also we do a lot of marathons. And waste pickers have never gone to marathon. They just love working in marathons. It's a very different kind of environment. And now, because we have been going to all these marathons for so many years, people respect them a lot. Stop and talk to them. What are you doing? How are you doing? So I think not only bringing zero waste in events, you're also bringing dignity to the work that they do and recognition to the work they do and food on the table. It's encompass everything.
Absolutely. I think finally that economic benefit which is passed on to this community is an incredibly vital part of making sure that it's sustainable and that it continues on in the force that it has. Honestly, the tourism industry and the hospitality industry specifically can learn a lot from what you're saying, because I think this has been one of my personal gripes in terms of single-use plastics, for instance, being used on conference tables. Flowers. Like these little embellishments that you're talking about that are sometimes unnecessary. And people, I think a lot of times as consumers also, we don't recognize or realize the impact of that small decision, right? To get that gold rim or not to. So I think as you're educating people and that awareness builds, it can have that ripple effect, because more and more we are seeing, and particularly in India, that people are more conscious, and if they know, they will make better choices. So I think that's an incredible service that you all are doing at Hasiru Dala. So one of the primary goals of Tamara Perspectives is to talk more about best practices and to set benchmarks, or to at least to understand what benchmarks are available within different parts of society, really. As an organization, as a corporation, it's very important for us to have benchmarks, for instance, so that we can continuously be working towards a singular goal as a team. So for instance, in Tamara, we measure all of our waste, we measure our consumption, and every year we put a goal to say that we're going to reduce that by a certain amount based on all the variables which are there. I was wondering if you had any thoughts around this, right? How can concrete benchmarks be helpful? Are there any benchmarks that you feel can be shared? Are there specific best practices also that you find are out there that can help all of us achieve either those benchmarks or some, interim goals, things like that? And how can we be consistent and sustainable in our solutions towards improvement year on year?
So there are a lot of benchmarks out there, so we don't have to create one. So see, 2016 law itself is a benchmark. We can start from there. It is only a starting point. It enables you to do more. And today we have a lot of small businesses, unique businesses, or boutique businesses, which are shown how to do. We have to learn to scale it up, right? Scaling up is always a bigger issue. You already have so many practices. The first benchmark is, what is the reduction? You just told us right now how you reduce regularly, right? What can we reduce? What can we replace with natural stuff? That also gives a lot of jobs to artisans, for example. Do you want to make smaller bowl with leaves? There are a lot of edible leaves you can make bowls with. Can we look at that? So reduction is first in any of your when you're doing. When you're looking at benchmarking, right from usage of water, usage of material, and also all the toiletries that you keep. And sometimes now people are little conscious and started putting their dispensers. Before they used to put small little disposables. I see that many of them have moved to dispensers, which is very good. And also, I'm not saying that all plastic is bad or is not necessary, but what is not necessary should not be there. What is necessary, yes, we can look at it. And also your service benchmark you already have for your hospitality. How can we build a benchmark of behind the screen work? That is very important. So the other thing is also looking at human interaction or people who are engaged in those services. They are also part of your benchmark. Whether people are trained well, even in zero waste. What does zero waste means? People think zero waste means we don't create zero waste. That's not zero waste. Not sending anything to landfill is zero waste, right? So what can be recycled? What cannot be recycled? What can be reused? There are so many things you already reuse. For example, your towels, everything, you wash it and get it. And now we are looking at, now we have just started cloth waste management, because now with the fast fashion, how much of cloth goes. And also we are looking at reusing the towels that you have used it. Instead of throwing it, whether we can make it into yarn and then again make towels. That's one of the things. Yes. Yeah. So linen is something that we are working with now. So I think you should look at every consumption that you have, how much of linen that you use, how many times can you use and how many times you cannot use. There are some things you cannot use more than like 50 times or 60 times, right? There are some things you cannot use more than 10 times. So what are those things that you can get rid of, or do it in a way that it can be reused or recycled? Something that you need to look at. So that is how you start the benchmarking. Where is the reduction? We don't need to have it. Where you have reuse, that is the next stage, and where you can recycle. So these are the three things you have to take for everything that you do in your hospitality.
I think, what's interesting is what you were saying about replacement. I think reduction is one ideology, and I think that's a very easy one for us to sort of tackle, right? On a daily basis, you can kind of say, okay, yesterday was this much, let's bring it down to this much, so on and so forth. It's not easy necessarily, but there is a tactic by which you can do that. Replacement has been tricky because I will say that the ecosystem has to also support it with those options. I have seen great improvement, I would say, over the last 2 years in terms of, availability of, things like, so for instance, toiletries, plastic toothbrushes are no longer really the norm, right? You see wooden toothbrushes in many hotels, and of course ours, we've been doing it for some time, and they are becoming more and more affordable as well, right? Because the economics of these less commonly produced items is also a challenge for any business. So that's a great thing. I think the ecosystem itself is moving towards this entire ideology, right? And I think that a lot of it is driven by customer demand. I think society is, as I said before, I think they are becoming more conscious. They want to make good decisions. And if they know, they are making those good decisions.
It's some simple things like straws. Why do you need straws? But you have customers who will come and ask for it. So don't provide it, and provide it for people who ask for it. That's the simplest thing you can do. And every time I get a drink, for example, and have a straw, I said, I don't want a straw, but it comes with a straw, even if I instructed already. But you can have a container with straw. People who want, they pick it. Then you don't have to give it with your drink, for example. There are a lot of small things you can also do it, because there are very conscious people, and if they don't take it, the other people who are sitting next to them may feel odd to take it. So they also start changing it. So these are small things that we have to do it. I think Bangalore was the first city where we all worked so hard. So McDonald's never served a straw. Yes, this is the first city where McDonald's didn't serve in 2014. Of course, after COVID, things have changed. But, people, one of my niece came and said, I don't like you. I said, why? What happened? See, I cannot take away, Coke from McDonald's. I need a straw. I said, carry a straw. I gave her a steel straw and she now carries it. So things change when small things, businesses can do the change.
And actually, interestingly, with straws, we've seen so much innovation in straws the last few years, right? Because it went to, you have you have compostable plastics which are there. You have pasta-based, rice-based, glass, steel. You have so many options of straws which are available now. And that innovation was driven probably because of you, right? Because you said, okay, McDonald's, you can't have, you can't have these single-use plastic straws anymore. So I think, thank you so much for your contributions. I think what you're doing with the community of waste pickers is incredible. I think bringing dignity to that community, making sure that they're highlighted, making sure that they have that, employee ID. I think those are things which are very meaningful in a very sustainable and long-term way. Thank you, Nalini, for being here with us.